Good afternoon. How are you? Well, Thomas Jefferson can report. It's in the low 40s, so we've lost the wonderful weather we had even yesterday when it was raining. And there's a slight wind, several miles an hour. And the sun is out, but it still feels chilly. So that's what we're dealing with. The state of affairs today is a reaction by the public. Lawyers longer in the tooth know when a court is not doing law, but is doing favors instead. When judges are hack politicians instead of wise jurists. And our Supreme Court has the cult of six. And that cult is prepared to do anything that Trump would like them to do, that they can appear to get away with, so that he is not tested by a jury of his peers for the alleged criminal acts that we all said and know occurred. And so for the public, what we're really dealing with is a patience until the conviction, because there's no doubt in our mind the evidence closes the case. And when he's tried in a courtroom, a jury will see that as well. So we have a court that has now been held up as scheming instead of following the theming of our earlier cases and precedents, what the Constitution says, and that we know one thing for sure. A former president is not immune such that he could kill someone and he couldn't be prosecuted, or order someone to do it and not be prosecuted. And if that's not the end of the discussion, what is? So why does a court, so-called supreme, last court in the land, treat this as if, oh my God, this is complicated. We have to figure this out. We have to sit down. We have to work on this. Yes, just like the Supreme Court worked on the challenge by Bush against Gore. Just like that. Let's make Bush the president. And that's what they did. And the case had no precedential value for any other case. Not that that matters, because if you look at Roe v. Wade, that had no precedential value when they passed Dobbs. And so among the cult of six, my stars for failing their oath of office, right up there is Thomas and, of course, Alito. Not alone. All six have got their problems. Three or more should have never been on the court. And we can go back to Thomas, how he got on the court after his misconduct with the women, and how shoddy it was that the Senate couldn't understand to punish him and to save America by barring him from being on the Supreme Court. Kavanaugh's another one. We could go through all of them. So what are we going to do about that? Well, if we win the Congress, that is the Senate and the House, and we get enough people in because of the bad conduct of Republicans in the last 4 to 10 years, then we may be able to add justices to the court. Some judges on the court now of the cult of six may leave of their own accord. Not under pressure the way perhaps some of our figures are leaving the Republican National Committee, or McConnell is being, in my opinion, probably pushed out because of the oppositional statements he's perceived to have made when he said, maybe Trump should be prosecuted, but I don't think we should impeach him. And then he joined Republicans and Democrats to try to pass a resolution, a bill that would prevent the government from closing down and take care of our obligations, our security obligations in Palestine and also in Ukraine. And we're talking about what do we do with Netanyahu and Israel and its plans to flatten at least the Gaza section of the western part of what's Palestine. And do they really have a settlement that we'll hear about on Monday? We could hope so. So our government is not working. It's not working right But we have a chance to push back on this, and we already have, in the sense that the courts have called out Trump for his lies about his funds and are requiring him to pay hundreds of millions of dollars. And he came in and he said, "Hey, Judge, what if I only give $100 million?" Judge said, no, it's not going to work. So soon we'll see his buildings taken from him, and perhaps where he has brands, and they'll search down where he has money. And maybe he'll stand on a street corner with a tin cup if he can't fool or con someone else to give him the support to be our first dictator. So those are kind of the thoughts I have. We can also say, not only is he crushed financially, but they can do their damnedest with the federal cases, but they can't get around the state cases. In New York, Bragg is going to have his case. He's going to convict Trump. None of us think in a fair system that Trump would be acquitted, because we all saw it. We also have in Georgia. And the judge down there, McAfee, he was the head of the Federalist Society when he was in law school down there in Georgia. So we got a lot of people with a lot of trouble. And the BS that there is some conflict, no matter what their personal relationship was, is unproven. When they got together, though it shouldn't matter in my opinion, is unproven. And the judge is bringing back the lawyer who represented Wade once again to have more questions answered. I often say that you have an idea what kind of case you're in if you can immediately decide whether your judge is a noun or a verb. And when there's no motion and there's no trial set and you can't make a decision on what I think is a pretty simple issue before the judge right now, you're a noun, not a verb. You're not acting. Also, in the cases that are pending, not only do we have Chutkan, but Judge, I call her Loose Cannon, has taken a step of strength, in my opinion, because Trump asked to look at all these special deals. And you know what? And look at all these documents. She said, no, we're not going to allow that to happen. That's not going to happen. And so he got a ruling against him. When Patrick Henry was responding to the revelation of our Constitution, which was finally passed in 1787 after the conference happened in a secret meeting that everybody else outside thought was about amending the Articles of Confederation. And Patrick Henry said those articles were fine because they recognized freedom. And among his biggest concerns was that were we going to create a government so strong that we would find ourselves with another monarch? Hadn't we learned from the King of England what it means when we give up our freedom to a force like that? And that is our problem today. So these are my thoughts the day after. I am sick at heart at lawyers who believe the system works no matter who the personnel are. And you have to modify your belief in the judgment of a court that's being run roughshod by people who are beholden to a president whom they want in office again, and may in fact see it as their duty and their mission because they spend so much time to get into that job, elbowing other people out of the way, knowing this was what they had to do. If you doubt the data points, you just look at overturning Roe v. Wade. Thank you, Mr. Alito. If you want to look at the thin ethics in which at least a family member is very actively engaged in preserving and helping Trump, well, we look at Thomas. We want to look at what is the court doing to preserve its reputation so people can trust it. That's up to Roberts. Well, he's failing. He's certainly not leading the court if he was part of this decision. And if he wasn't, he's lost control of the court to the cult of six, of which he's a member with an asterisk, I suppose. So that's my thinking about what the state of our nation is. And so I'm in the cathedral of wonderful trees, even though it's chilly. And I hope to be out tomorrow. Maybe I'll be warmer. And tomorrow is my anniversary. It's a good thing I remember that, right? Bye-bye.